Are you an artist, creator, or maker, and you love to make and create, but you feel stuck and you're unsure what next steps to take? Well, all is not lost. As an art business coach, I can help you get more clarity and help you set up a plan for your next steps so that you can start to see results in your art career. A one-on-one coaching session is a powerful way to help you move forward on your artist journey. Whether you need help thinking through your art website, setting up an art routine, or organizing your first exhibition, a personal coaching session will help you take those next steps. You can DM me on @SonjaSmallHere or head over to my website to find out more. I know I would love to connect with you.
And I thought maybe I could split my life in two. Maybe I could be one of those people that has a day job that they absolutely loathe. And then at night I could be an artist, and maybe I go out and I show my art in bars and I have a couple of drinks and people call me an artist, but really I'm just a salesman by day. I'm just a grunt worker. I thought I could do that.
My name is Sonja SmallHere. I'm an artist, an art coach, and a course creator. When I graduated from the Art Academy, I had learned how to paint and how to draw, but I had no idea how to earn a living with my creativity. I was not prepared for the life as a working artist. This often left me quite frustrated, sometimes on the verge of calling it quits, throwing away my brushes and giving it all up. But I'm so glad I didn't. After many failed attempts and valuable lessons learned, I've discovered ways to turn my creative dream of being a working artist into a reality, now giving me the freedom to live the life I love. I created the Help I'm Artist podcast because no matter where you are in your journey, whether you're just starting out or maybe you've been a working artist for a while, you too can take steps to turn your creative passions into a meaningful, sustainable profession. The Help I'm Artist podcast is filled with fresh inspiration, step-by-step practical insights, and interviews with artists who are experts in their field. If you're a smart artist or one in the making who is looking for new and exciting ways to get your art out of your studio and into the hands and hearts of an audience that's appreciative and willing to pay its worth, then you're in the right place. Happy listening. Have you ever wondered if you could ever earn a living as a freelance illustrator? Or what steps you must take to start to work on commissions? Or how you can go about getting those precious clients? Well then, stay tuned. Today I chat with Cristian Aluas, a Romanian-born Canadian living in New York, where he now works as a full-time artist, author, and educator. In this episode, Cristian shares his rocky road to the life of being a full-time working artist. And we chat about his book, It's a Living, all about surviving as a freelancer in the 21st century. And make sure you hang around to the end because Cristian has something special for you that I know will help you turn your dreams of being that full-time working artist into a reality. Here's our conversation. Well, Cristian, thank you so much for joining me for the Help I'm Artist podcast.
Thank you for having me, Sonja. This is exciting. I love your podcasts.
Great. Well, you can add to all those tips because I know you have a lot of experience in different areas. But so let's start with, can you introduce yourself? Just tell us where you're from and what you're doing.
I'm a Romanian-born Canadian artist living in New York. So I was born in Romania during communist times. My family emigrated. We came to Canada, and I grew up in Canada from the age of 8. 18 years ago, after college and university, which were in the arts, I became a full-time professional artist. Well, I started showing in cafes and worked my way up to city galleries and commercial galleries. In the meanwhile, trying to make a living, I turned to teaching. And during the times that I was creating art to sell in cafes and bars and you name it, I began to subsidize my living by doing commissions online, all art commissions. So my whole career has been a variety of art-related projects that has sustained me to create the art that I want to create, basically. So it's like I kind of, my hobby is my work and vice versa. Even for clients, there's creative things to be done, and there's joy in those interactions as well. I lived in Las Vegas for 3 years, and then I moved to New York.
Just give us a context. Is it fine art? What kind of art are you making?
Well, the online commissions, they're mostly illustrations. When I started out, what was popular online were websites. Everybody was making websites, and I learned some coding, and I had an animation background. As I was comfortable with those commissions, and I kind of saved a little money so I could afford to turn down some projects, then I kind of geared my focus towards what I enjoyed the most, which was illustrating. Everything from like kind of illustrative logos, but I do a lot of commissions for comic books. I help clients draw and produce comic books. Just anything that's like a fine illustration. I'm good at drawing people, and I do oil paintings for myself, and occasionally they sell. The really good ones sell right away, almost immediately.
How did you realize that this is something that you want to make your living?
There's a chapter in my book called Apollo's Prisoner, and that kind of answers it, and I'll kind of brief it for you. But basically, there's a famous quote, famous to me maybe, by Friedrich Nietzsche, and he wrote that what is dormant in the father lives in the son. And in terms of why I'm an artist, I feel that is my ultimate reason. My father wanted to be an artist. I feel like every child is an artist, and then at some point they give it up. For some people, that devastation of having to give up art as an adult is immensely heartbreaking. It's like, in terms of my father, it defined the break of his childhood. It kind of stole away any joy that he ever had for life. It was taken away. So that's what it meant for someone like my father. And some people are like that too. Some hobbyists are like that, and they'll take some government job or some like corporate job, and they complain every day and they hate it. They complain that they don't have enough time to do their art, and they just live in this cycle of misery because they denied themselves, or they were forced to deny their passion for art. And in my dad's curiosity, he just kind of like put things in front of me, and I became an artist. But it's never, he never like groomed me specifically to be an artist. It was that repressed flame in his heart.
So what did he put in front of you? What did he show you?
Like a sketchbook or something, it's like the good qualities of parenthood would be that if you see a child has interest, and that interest, I think it's subconscious. It's also, that's what I'm saying. It's like passed on, like through energy from the parents, like whatever, I feel like whatever was repressed by my parents came out through me, like a curiosity. And then once they see that, I think it's a good parent's job to facilitate those interests. I went to a specialty arts high school where you had to apply with a portfolio. And then I studied animation in college, and I studied creative writing with a minor in studio art and art history in university.
Was that enough preparation for making a living as an artist?
It was hard for me to get work in the animation business. Nobody wanted to hire me. I took all these other part-time jobs. I worked at a coffee shop. I worked at a Staples, which is kind of business office supplies. I got fired from a newsstand. And then I took one other job selling credit cards on the phone. And I thought maybe I could split my life in two. Maybe I could be one of those people that like has a day job that they absolutely loathe. And then at night I could be an artist. And maybe I go out and I show my art in bars, and, and I have a couple of drinks, and people call me an artist, but really I'm just a salesman by day,
Yeah.
I'm just a
Yeah.
grunt worker. I thought I could do that. I thought like, I want to give it a go, because it might be difficult, where do I have money from, So
Yeah.
ultimately I quit. I write about it in the book. It's an interesting a separate little story where I kind of cornered this little old lady trying to sell her a credit card, and then my guilt overflowed, and I couldn't go with it, and I quit, and it's I said I'm going to be an artist full time.
There's that real struggle of becoming the artist, finding your way, of having that money, because if you had endless supplies of money, that wouldn't have been an issue. So you needed, of course, a revenue stream to support your creative endeavors. And there came a moment when you gave all that up, and then you've just focused on becoming an artist. And a lot of listeners are at that point. They either have day jobs or they want to make the transition from a day job to be an artist. What tips would you give them, and from your own experience, to make that transition? What do you need to put in place? How do you need to prepare yourself?
Well, I did it the hard way. I recommend that you do it to try to transition, to keep a job, because keep a job and then transition strategically, like write a business plan, figure out the sort of art that you want to make that the market wants, and then list it on, let's say, Etsy or on several sites, or if you're freelancing, try to be available during your work hours so you can satisfy clients, and then transition. I'm all or nothing. And in fact, I struggled financially. I was under the poverty line for like 4 years. I was like broke. I didn't have a date for 4 years. I used to have relationships in college, but then there's no way, like I can't take a woman for coffee, like I don't even have enough for a bus pass. But here's the thing, like you have to make sacrifices to do in this life what you're meant to do for the sake of your own happiness. There's a movie called Shawshank Redemption. In the movie, this prisoner secretly, over the span of years, digs a hole behind a poster in his cell. He digs a hole through, like with a little spoon, to escape prison. And years later, just out of the blue, he disappears from his cell, and then they take down the poster and they realize there's a hole, and he's gone forever, And I feel like that's how you have to plan your life sometimes. Like a secret escape. Like you don't have to tell anybody. You just put your nose down and work.
Cristian, how did you eventually have those contacts with clients? Because you work on commission, you were illustrating. Where did you find those connections to build up a serious portfolio?
That's a great question, because so even now in these times where it's like social networking events are really difficult to do except online, so where do you get these contacts? So for me, from the very beginning, it was online. My plan at the time was to make art and to publish that art into graphic novels. So I registered like a small publishing press as a sole proprietorship. I have a few sites that I go to. I go to guru.com, upwork.com. Those are the two main ones. Okay. And then freelancer.com, which was the one that I started out with, which I have the most reviews on, like over 500 excellent reviews on there.
People post commissions on there if they want a logo done, or an illustration or portrait. That's where artists can go to see if there's a match, whether they are, they can hook up with a commission.
People post projects, you bid, you tell them based on their description how much it's going to cost you to do it and how long it'll take, how they should pay you. And then you have to be presentable, because it's like, within hours, you'll have 40 bids from across the world. So somebody overseas could do it for, something that you would do for, let's say, 500 or 1,000. They would offer to do it for 50 or 100. And then so why wouldn't they go for them? So then you have to, like, it's the question of how you present yourself, your proposal, the professionalism of the way you address all their points. Because that's the thing. Like, it's like I never just copy and paste something. Like if they say they want a logo with a dog in it, I say, I am perfect for your logo with a dog in it. And I show them only images that I've done in the past that have text and dogs in them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't waste their time. And then I kind of pray that the person comes across it, and when they find me, they realize, like, this guy is paying attention.
So this would be a good way for illustrators, for designers, for artists, freelancers on these platforms. I'll put the links in the notes of the podcast, to be really structured and intentional about getting those commissions.
I have some designs on Redbubble, original designs that you could upload as an artist, and people can order it on different products. Everything from like small sticker to phone cases to pillows to shower curtains to prints. So I have some designs that like bring in some small residual income that way, and the courses that I have on Udemy and Skillshare.
And what courses do you give? Is it drawing, illustration, technique?
Yeah, I have a handful of courses right now. Everything from comic book style illustration to mixed media, acrylic painting. There's one on freelancing and another one on self-publishing.
And I'm just curious also about, you have a comic book. How did your Big Boss comic book come about?
When I was still in high school, I self-published my first graphic novel on the teacher's lounge photocopier. That's when I first drew that character. So then I did a 5-issue miniseries. Then I did the Instagram comic several years later. So the Instagram comic is the most recent. I drew one panel each day, 5 days a week, and I did it for 13 months.
Do you have like your top 3 tips that artists can use to apply to get their art seen and heard?
On Facebook, I joined a couple of groups, and occasionally I see people that need work. So whether it's like comic book groups, or another one where somebody the other day wanted a portrait for Christmas.
Okay, so you're in the groups, so you're on the Facebook and Insta stories,
right.
Your feed, so you have a presence online.
Right, so that's the second one. So the first point is like make art that is, you know, that's genuine to you, and it's also appealing to people, you know? Mm-hmm. And sometimes you have to study, you know, like what's popular, and you kind of make a compromise, but you really have to be, for me, I have to be spontaneous about it, and it has to be genuine, because when it's not genuine, it's like nobody's interested, you know? Half of the sales that I got on the new artworks were from people that have bought before. Actually, the very first sale was from a client that I forget what I did. I did like a book design way back years ago. We're talking like 10, 15 years ago online, and then we became Facebook friends, and then he's bought drawings from me in the past, you know?
So recurring.
Yeah, so they trust, they're like, okay, you know, like they bought one, and then, you know, they're building a little collection. Work on your career and being professional, and it'll work, trust me.
Where you have the authentic work, make something that's real, that's authentic, what resonates other people. So what's relevant for your market, for the people that are buying. Right. And have your online presence.
Right, you have to be active and ready and available. That's very important. My philosophy is that you have to be available.
What does that mean? What does that practically mean? You online all the time?
Well,
have a system?
You have to respond quickly enough.
Yeah.
You know? So, I mean, it's okay if let's say you have a certain time in the day that you respond to all emails, or you have your Facebook time of the day, that's fine. But when you do have that, and when you do send a message, it has to be professional, because they've been waiting all day for your response. So it has to have a reward for them, like emotionally, you know, like it's a reply. It's like every time you get a new client, it's like a whirlwind romance. Because, you know, you have to be excited. Everybody's excited at the beginning, because it's like it's a stranger, but you're all excited, you know, because one person has money and the other one has skills. So they're excited, and like, you know, just like love, sometimes you kind of ignore all the red flags, you know, but it's business. So you have to make sure that, like, you know, they put money in escrow, or they make a deposit and things like that. You can't totally trust. So I would never start work without a deposit. Yeah, that's really my expertise right now, is like getting work and closing projects to make enough residual income that I can then transition to just teaching and creating original content and growing my audience.
And what does that mean, grow your audience? How do you do that?
Well, you build relationships, you network, get emails, you create a newsletter, and you provide valuable content.
And how do you juggle that? Because it sounds like so much you need to spend so much time on the business side of things. Doesn't your creativity suffer under that? Don't you just want to just make your art?
Not really. It's like it doesn't suffer. It's like a balance. You can't just do art all the time. It's just like, for me, it's like, I just love challenges. I like trying different things. Sometimes it's actually, you're right. Sometimes it's hard to do so many things all on the same day. If I don't create my own goals, then it's like I get depressed. So I have to come up with goals in my life.
Cristian, can you tell me what you love the most about being an artist?
I'm so comfortable in one way, I do have little anxieties here and there, it's usually related to money or something, that I feel I have a lot of freedom, and I count myself very lucky that I could do all the things that I want to. I could take a day off and not work.
So that's the perk of being self-employed, being that freelancer, that you have the freedom to lance, to spend your time the way that you want to, if you have that structure, because then otherwise your freedom will come back and bite you.
The structure, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, so it's both sides. So the freedom, I can really relate to that, but that's part of the job, part of the absolute joy of being an artist, and makes this profession so exciting. And what do you least like about being an artist?
There's challenges in everything, in every job, because it's like every painting that I've done always has a bad part. So it's about 60% in. Mm-hmm. So it's like from the beginning to the end, at the 60% point, I'm like, this is terrible.
Yeah, hate it.
It's never gonna turn out like I thought at the beginning. And it's just like, I might have to throw this out the window. But then you just have to work through it.
Yeah.
And that's the key.
That would be your key. I think we know that that's the creative curve. You come to that point, you either exit or you need to press through.
Yeah.
And you need to so how do you motivate yourself to press through?
It's developing your character from the very beginning as a professional, that a person that is resilient, that is strong-willed, friendly, and cares about people and cares about results. That's something that you just build in yourself. I trust myself. And that's how I'm getting over anxiety. It's like, I trust that I'm strong enough to handle anything and everything. Because as long as I got my body, as long as I'm healthy, as long as I'm moving, I'm thriving. There's no turning back. There's only forward in life. I've learned to not let the past define me. I think about it just to learn, but there's not one thing in the future that's exactly like the thing in the past. There's no way that I can turn back time and change anything. So all I could do is take the person that I am today and improve upon that.
What would you tell the 20-year-old version of Cristian now, in retrospect? So what would you do differently in your career as an artist, making the transition or setting yourself up in your art life that you've learned and that you could share with the listeners, that they could maybe be inspired by?
One of the things that I regretted was not finishing my university. So I finished my college, but not my university. Now, there was a reason for that. I just didn't see the value in it. The reason I kind of regretted it was a few years ago, I taught college level in Las Vegas. And I realized very quickly that I could never have a tenured position because I didn't have a master's. Mm-hmm. Because, you have to decide what's important to you. But that's the thing, that you need as a young person, is to use your great imagination to project your future, to see your future.
Oh, that's nicely said, that you use your imagination to actually project your future, and then you start making steps to walk in your future, and that you can bring that about very intentionally. Many of the podcast listeners are visual artists. The galleries have closed or have limited access. What advice could you offer in this time for visual artists who are still wanting to have successful careers? How can they pivot? Do you have any words of advice in this time?
There's a great opportunity. I mean, people still have an interest in art. There was a little bit of a desperation that I saw initially when the pandemic started. And I remember seeing a lot of extra new artist ads on Instagram, for example. And some of these artists seemed like they had work, like more commissions. But then, so they were maybe used to like a kind of a cozy, income.
Yeah.
And then they were worried that people were going to run out of money, because they were losing jobs. So then they started putting these ads out. And that's the vibe I was getting. But I was lucky at the very beginning because I had a couple of projects that I was finishing. So I already had a couple of contracts and they were sizable. I had like one that was like a comic book project, which was like a few thousand. And then like another one that was like an animation for a corporation, again, like several thousand. So I just kind of like lived off those for a bit. And then I pivoted. So that's another thing that you have to do as an artist. Sometimes you have to pivot. Mm-hmm. And certainly for me as a freelancer, it didn't really change. People still needed graphics and
but you had the flexibility and you had enough tools in your toolkit to be able to do that, because you already had diverse revenue streams. So you could see what revenue stream was applicable and could give you the most revenue in a lockdown. So I think that's an advantage too, that artists find different revenue streams so that whatever the season, whether it's the ebb or the flow in their season, that they can anticipate and pivot.
The only tricky part is that I recommend to people is like try to focus on two big things at any given time, because that's what's worked for me. It's anything beyond two is like too much.
Art obviously is important to you. Creativity is a big part of your life. Why should people be investing in art and embracing creativity and education in our society? Do you have a vision on that?
Yeah, art is from the beginning what I understood, from like civilization, is that art is used as a reflection, like cave drawings. So it's a reflection of our existence. It shows us ourselves, that we may accept ourselves and then grow beyond ourselves. And I remember in university, I took this year-long history class, and it had this great textbook. I've been curious about having it from my library ever since. The textbook was interesting because in each period of history, and it covered like from Descartes all the way to modern day. And in each period, it had the philosophy, the art, and the politics, and then the actual occurrences. It would have like the philosophy and the art preceding everything else, because they were like the bookends to everything that happened politically and socially.
Cristian, I really appreciate your time and your tips. Very practical. You have had your feet in the mud yourself. You've gone through many chapters in your life, and you are still smiling and enthusiastic about being a working artist. Please just tell us where we can find you, where people that are interested in your courses, in your book, where can they find you?
Well, thank you, Sonia, so much. You can find the book, It's a Living, Surviving as a Freelancer in the 21st Century, is on Amazon. It's available in the Netherlands too. You might have to search for the full title, like with the subtitle to find me, or you search for my name and my books will show up.
And as far as Instagram, or what's the best place to find you on social media?
Well, there's Big Boss Comic, and then Masterpiece Art School. And then I have a couple of websites with masterpieceartschool.com and my original artist site, which is csa1.ca. And then I have several portfolios on like Guru and Upwork and Freelancer.
Great. Well, I'll put all those details in the notes so people can have a look to find out more about you. Wish you all the best with all your creative endeavors, also with your book and your writings, with your graphic novels.
Well, thank you, Sonia. I wish you the best too. And
thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks again, Cristian, for all your tips and for sharing your story. And as promised, Cristian has something special for you. Cristian is generously making 2 of the chapters of his book, It's a Living, available to you. They are yours to download for free. In these chapters, Cristian explains more about what life looks like as a freelancer and how you can best deal with clients. You can head over to www.sonjasmallhere.com/freelancer. Here you can access your copy. And better yet, get the book. It's called It's a Living, Surviving as a Freelancer in the 21st Century. And it's available on Amazon. So that's all for this week. Join me again next time for another episode of the Help I'm Artist podcast. In this episode, I'll be chatting with Rachel Tenalach, a fine artist from Idaho, who successfully found that delicate balance between being a busy mom and a full-time working artist. Rachel will share her artist story and how diversifying and working in collaborations has opened up some interesting doors for her. So make sure to tune in. And if you don't ever want to miss an episode, then you can subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening to this episode and leave a review, as this means the world to me and will make the podcast more visible and easier for other artists to find it. Thanks for that. We end this episode with the music from Dutch artist Nana Adjo. Have an amazing week, and I look forward to connecting with you next time. Until then.